Unexpected landing. The celestial harmony glided silently through Earth's upper atmosphere, its quantum cloaking field rendering it invisible to the primitive detection systems of the planet below. Captain Vex stood on the command deck, her translucent exoskeleton glimmering under the soft blue lights. Four crystalline eyes blinked in sequence as she studied the holographic displays showing the blue-green world beneath them. Standard observation pattern. Pilot Mrek, she instructed. Keep us at optimal scanning altitude. The pilot, a squat orange-skinned being with multiple arms working across the control interface, acknowledged with a soft clicking sound. Yes, Captain. Maintaining position at 63 kilometers. According to the Galactic Council's records, Earth was classified as a Level 3 developing world, relatively primitive, only recently achieving rudimentary space travel, and still fractured into competing nation-states. Their mission was a routine update on the planet's development trajectory, performed once every 50 local years. Nothing more. Science Officer Lorix floated toward the captain on his gravity disk, his delicate tendrils waving gently as he analyzed incoming data. Interesting atmospheric changes since our last visit, he noted. Carbon levels have increased by 12%, yet they show signs of implementing cleaner energy solutions in some regions. The usual developmental contradictions, Captain Vex replied dismissively. They'll either balance it or perish. Many species reach this juncture. The Galactic Council had seen thousands of civilizations rise and fall. Some made it past their self-destructive phases to join the interstellar community. Many did not. Humanity, with its violent history and environmental carelessness, was considered a low-probability candidate for eventual membership. A sudden alarm pierced the calm of the command deck. Engineering Chief Zillara's scaled skin flushed deep purple as she worked frantically at her station. Captain, massive energy surge in the primary propulsion system. She called out, her clawed hands dancing across the interface. Source. Vex demanded, all four eyes narrowing. Unknown. It's as if. Zillara paused. Confusion evident in her voice. It's as if the gravitational field around us just changed. Before anyone could respond, the ship lurched violently. Displays flickered, and the artificial gravity wavered. Crew members grasped for support as the celestial harmony began to descend rapidly. Emergency stabilizers. Vex ordered, her voice steady despite the crisis. Reroute power from non-essential systems. Already done, Zillara replied, her voice tight with strain. The field is still collapsing. Something is interfering with our core technology. Mrek's multiple arms worked feverishly across the controls. I cannot maintain altitude. Plotting emergency landing trajectory to minimize detection and casualties. The sleek exploration vessel, pride of the Galactic Council's scientific fleet, plummeted through cloud layers, its hull heating as emergency shields struggled to compensate. Through the view screen, forests and mountains grew larger by the second. Impact in 30 seconds, Mrek announced grimly. Best possible location identified. Unpopulated woodland, northern continental region. All crew secure for emergency landing. Vex commanded shipwide, her exoskeleton gleaming as she braced herself in her command chair. The celestial harmony crashed through the forest canopy, tearing through ancient trees before carving a long furrow into the earth. It came to rest in a small clearing, the impact throwing crew members against their restraints despite the inertial dampeners. Warning signals shrieked throughout the vessel as systems failed in cascading sequence. When the chaos subsided, Captain Vex freed herself from her restraints and quickly assessed the situation. The bridge was bathed in the red glow of emergency lighting. Miraculously, no crew members appeared severely injured, though many stations sparked with damaged circuitry. Damage report, she ordered, her voice cutting through the haze of confusion. Gradually, reports filtered in from across the ship. The news was grim. Primary propulsion offline. Secondary systems severely damaged. Communication arrays compromised. They were stranded on a planet they had come merely to observe. Life support and cloaking systems are functional but drawing heavily from our reserves, Zilara reported after a thorough diagnostic. We have perhaps 10 days before we need to conserve power for essential systems only. Science Officer Lorix had been quiet, his tendrils working feverishly over an undamaged sensor array. "Captain," he said finally, his voice unusually tense, "I'm detecting something troubling." Vex moved to his station. "Explain." "The energy readings from nearby human settlements." He paused, recalibrating his instruments. "They don't match our database. These energy signatures suggest technology far more advanced than our records indicate." "Impossible," Vex said, but without conviction. The Council's last assessment was only 50 local years ago. "Nevertheless," Lorix continued, "I'm detecting evidence of quantum computing networks, fusion energy research, and artificial intelligence development that should be centuries beyond their current stage." Captain Vex stood silently, processing this information. The Galactic Council had strict protocols about contact with developing worlds. Interference could alter natural developmental patterns, creating unpredictable and potentially dangerous outcomes. Yet here they were, crashed on a world that might be far more advanced than they had believed. "Our priority is repair and departure with minimal detection," she decided. "Zilara, focus engineering teams on the propulsion and communication systems. Lorix, continue monitoring these energy signatures. We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." As night fell, the crew of the Celestial Harmony worked feverishly to assess and repair their damaged vessel. The cloaking field, though functional, consumed precious power. They would need to find alternative solutions soon. When morning came, Captain Vex called her senior officers together. "We've completed the preliminary damage assessment," Zilara reported grimly. "The quantum fold drive is beyond our ability to repair with onboard resources. The emergency beacon is operational, but at reduced power. It could take months for a rescue signal to reach Council space. So we are truly stranded," Vex concluded, her crystalline eyes dimming slightly. "There may be another option," Lorix suggested hesitantly. "If the humans are indeed more technologically advanced than we believed, perhaps we could acquire the materials we need from them." The suggestion hung in the air, radical and dangerous. Contact with pre-Council civilizations was forbidden except under strict scientific protocols. "We would need to find a human who would help us without exposing our presence widely," Vex said, considering the possibility. "Someone with scientific knowledge, access to materials, and the discretion to keep our existence secret. A needle in what the humans call a haystack," Mrek commented dryly. Their discussion was interrupted by a perimeter alert. Someone, was approaching the ship. Dr. Elena Kasparov trudged through the forest, following the coordinates she had calculated from last night's anomalous readings. As the research facility's lead physicist specializing in quantum field theory, she had been working late when her instruments detected a massive gravitational fluctuation, something that should have been impossible with current technology. Protocol dictated reporting such anomalies to her superiors at the International Advanced Physics Institute. But Elena had learned through bitter experience that bureaucracy moved slowly, and discoveries were often buried under security classifications. This was too important to risk losing to redacted files and restricted access. She had left her lab before dawn, telling no one where she was going. The handheld detector she had hastily assembled beeped more insistently as she approached a ridge overlooking a small clearing. As she crested the hill, Elena froze in disbelief. Below her lay a path of destruction through the forest, broken trees and disturbed earth leading to nothing, or rather something that her eyes couldn't quite focus on. A distortion in the air, shimmering slightly, approximately the size of a small aircraft. Cloaking technology, she whispered to herself, her scientific mind racing even as her heart pounded with excitement and fear. It has to be. Inside the Celestial Harmony, the crew watched the human female through their sensors. She stood alone at the edge of the clearing, staring directly at their ship despite the cloaking field. "She can perceive us," Lorix said, fascinated. "Not clearly, But she knows something is here. She carries scientific instruments, Zilara noted, analyzing the sensor readings. Primitive, but effective enough to detect our presence. Captain Vex made a swift decision. We need information, and possibly assistance. This human may be our best opportunity. She turned to her security officer. Prepare for potential first contact, but be ready to neutralize the threat if necessary. Elena's scientific curiosity overcame her caution. She stepped into the clearing, approaching the shimmering distortion slowly. As she drew closer, the distortion seemed to waver, then suddenly dissipated, revealing a sleek vessel unlike anything human technology could produce. She gasped involuntarily, stopping in her tracks as a section of the craft's hull reconfigured itself, forming an opening. A ramp extended to the ground, and 3 figures emerged, each so alien that her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. One had a translucent exoskeleton that caught the morning light, revealing shadowy internal organs and a crystalline skeletal structure. Another floated slightly above the ground, tentacle-like appendages waving gently around a central mass. The third was more solidly built, with scaled purple skin and multiple limbs. Elena raised her hand slowly to show she carried no weapons. "Hello," she said, her voice remarkably steady given the circumstances. "I come in peace." The translucent being approached, activating a small device that emitted a soft hum. After a moment, it spoke, the words somehow forming in the air between them rather than coming from the creature itself. "You are not afraid," it observed. Not a question, but a statement of curiosity. Elena smiled nervously. Terrified, actually, but also amazed. She gestured to the ship. "That's not human technology. You're not from Earth." "I am Captain Vex of the Galactic Council exploration vessel Celestial Harmony," the translucent being responded. "This is Science Officer Lorix and Engineering Chief Zilara. We did not intend to land on your world." "Dr. Elena Kasparov," she replied, still holding her hands visible. "I'm a physicist. I detected your crash, or rather, the gravitational anomaly it created." The floating creature, Lorix, moved forward slightly. "You detected our quantum fold disruption with these instruments." He indicated her handheld device with a tendril. "Yes," Elena confirmed. "I've been researching quantum field irregularities. Your arrival created a pattern I've never seen before." She hesitated, then asked the question foremost in her mind. "Why are you here? Is this first contact?" "No," Captain Vex stated firmly. "This is an accident. We were conducting a routine observation mission when our systems failed. Now we are stranded." Elena processed this information quickly. "You've been observing Earth. For how long?" "The Galactic Council has monitored your world for centuries," Vex explained. "It is standard protocol for all developing civilizations." "Developing?" Elena frowned slightly. "You make it sound like we're children." "By our standards, you are," Zilara interjected, her scaled skin shifting colors slightly. "Earth is classified as a Level 3 pre-Council world. Your species has only recently achieved spaceflight and has yet to resolve your internal conflicts or environmental challenges." Elena wanted to argue but couldn't deny the assessment. "Fair enough. But you're clearly in trouble now. What do you need?" The aliens exchanged glances, communicating in some imperceptible way. Finally, Captain Vex spoke again. "Our ship requires materials for repair that we cannot synthesize with our remaining resources. Without these repairs, we cannot return to Council space or send a clear distress signal." Elena nodded slowly, a smile forming. "I might be able to help you. I have access to advanced materials research at my facility." She paused, thinking through the implications. "But I need something in return." "What do you want?" Captain Vex asked cautiously. "Knowledge," Elena replied simply. "Not technology. I understand you probably have rules against that. But I want to learn. About the universe, other civilizations, the science behind your ship. things that wouldn't disrupt our natural development, but would satisfy my scientific curiosity. Another silent exchange passed between the aliens before Captain Vex responded. A fair exchange, but you must tell no one else about our existence. That might be difficult, Elena admitted. I'll need to source materials, possibly enlist help. I can't do this alone without raising suspicions. A significant risk, Vex acknowledged, but perhaps unavoidable. We will trust your judgment, for now. That first meeting established an uneasy alliance. Elena returned to her research facility, her mind racing with the implications of what she had discovered. The aliens were real. They had been watching Earth, and now they needed humanity's help, her help. Over the next several days, Elena made regular trips to the Celestial Harmony, bringing small amounts of materials that wouldn't be missed from her lab. She told no one what she had found, creating plausible excuses for her frequent absences. In exchange, Science Officer Lorix explained basic concepts about the galaxy and its diverse civilizations, carefully avoiding information that might accelerate Earth's development unnaturally. Your understanding of quantum physics is surprisingly advanced, Lorix commented as they reviewed the ship's damage. His tendrils moved gracefully over a holographic display, showing the quantum fold drive's complex architecture, yet still primitive by your standards. Elena replied without bitterness. She had quickly accepted the vast technological gap between her civilization and theirs. Yes, but the rate of your advancement is. Lorix paused, searching for the right words. Unusual. According to our historical models, your species should not have progressed from basic computing to quantum theory in mere decades. We're quick learners, Elena said with a slight smile. Perhaps too quick, Captain Vex interjected, joining their conversation. Science Officer Lorix has been analyzing historical data from our previous observations of Earth. Your technological development curve is unprecedented among known species. Elena's scientific curiosity was piqued. What's the normal pattern? Most species take centuries, sometimes millennia, to progress from one major technological stage to the next, Vex explained. The transition from industrial to digital technology alone typically requires 150 to 200 years of gradual development. Humans did it in less than 50, Elena noted with pride. Precisely, Vex confirmed, and that represents a significant anomaly, one that the Council would find deeply concerning. Concerning? Why? Isn't fast progress good? Zilara, who had been silently working nearby, joined the conversation. Rapid technological advancement without proportional ethical and social development often leads to self-destruction. Many species develop weapons before they develop the wisdom not to use them. The statement hung in the air, uncomfortably accurate. Humanity had indeed created nuclear weapons before establishing lasting global peace. Yet you haven't destroyed yourselves, Lorix noted with his tendrils waving in what Elena had come to recognize as a gesture of curiosity. Something is different about humans, something we don't yet understand. As Elena prepared to leave that evening, Captain Vex approached her with an unusual request. Dr. Kasparov, with your permission, we would like to conduct a more thorough study of human cognitive processes. It may help us understand your species' unique developmental pattern. You want to scan my brain? Elena asked, half joking. In essence, yes, Vex confirmed seriously. Our technologies are non-invasive and would cause no harm. Elena considered for a moment, then nodded. Knowledge for knowledge. That was our deal. As the alien scanner hummed softly around her head, Elena couldn't help but wonder what they might discover and how it might change their understanding of humanity. What she didn't realize was that this simple agreement would soon lead to a discovery that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Council itself. Meanwhile, in a secure government facility hundreds of miles away, Major David Chen stared at satellite imagery, showing unusual energy readings from a remote forest region. Run the analysis again, he ordered the technician beside him. And get me everything we have on Dr. Elena Kasparov. The wheels were in motion. Earth's isolation in the galaxy was about to end, for better or worse. The anomaly. Science Officer Lorix floated motionless in the Celestial Harmonies research chamber, his tendrils extended in a perfect radial pattern, a sign of deep concentration among his species. Around him, holographic displays showed brain scans of Dr. Elena Kasparov, alongside comparative data from thousands of other sentient species catalogued by the Galactic Council. Extraordinary, he whispered to himself, tendrils quivering with excitement. Captain Vex entered the chamber, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light of the displays. "You found something." "Yes," Lorix replied, his tendrils drawing back slightly. "I've analyzed Dr. Kasparov's neural patterns against our database. The results are unprecedented." He manipulated the holographic displays, bringing forward a three-dimensional model of the human brain. Certain areas glowed with unusual intensity compared to the alien comparative models. Human neural architecture shows unique connectivity patterns, Lorix explained. Most sentient species develop specialized brain regions with limited cross-communication. Logic and creativity centers typically function as separate systems. And humans? Vex asked, her four eyes focusing on the rotating model. "They've developed extensive neural bridges between these regions," Lorix continued, highlighting web-like connections that spanned across the brain. "These connections allow for simultaneous analytical and creative processing, a biological multithreading, if you will." Zilara joined them, her scaled skin shifting to a thoughtful blue hue. Could this explain their accelerated development curve? "I believe so," Lorix confirmed. "This neural architecture would facilitate conceptual leaps that other species typically require generations to achieve. They can simultaneously envision something new while calculating its feasibility." "One scan is insufficient evidence," Captain Vex cautioned. "We need more data." "Agreed," Lorix said. "With your permission, Captain, I'd like to request more human subjects for comparison." Vex considered the implications. More humans meant greater risk of exposure, yet the scientific discovery could be significant, potentially important enough to justify bending the non-interference protocols. "Speak with Dr. Kasparov," she decided, "but proceed with extreme caution." Meanwhile, Elena sat in her office at the International Advanced Physics Institute, staring at her computer screen without really seeing it. Her mind was elsewhere, in a clearing in the forest, aboard an alien ship that contained technology beyond humanity's wildest dreams. A knock at her door pulled her back to reality. "Come in," she called, quickly minimizing the simulation she had been running based on what she'd learned from the aliens. Dr. Mikhail Sokolov, the Institute's director, entered with a concerned expression. "Elena, are you all right? You've seemed distracted these past days." "Just focused on my research," she replied smoothly. "The quantum field anomalies I detected last week have opened up some interesting possibilities." Mikhail nodded slowly. "That's actually why I'm here. The Defense Department called this morning. They're interested in your recent findings." Elena felt her heart rate accelerate. The Defense Department. Why would they care about theoretical physics research? "Apparently, your anomaly registered on some of their monitoring systems," Mikhail explained. "A Major Chen will be visiting tomorrow to discuss your findings." After Mikhail left, Elena sat frozen at her desk. Government interest meant surveillance, questions, potential discovery of the celestial harmony. She needed to warn the aliens, and she needed help. That evening, Elena made a difficult decision. She called the two colleagues she trusted most. Dr. Aisha Rumman, a brilliant materials scientist who could help with the ship repairs, and Dr. James Lee, a neurologist whose expertise might help understand Lorix's findings about human brain structure. "I need your help with something extraordinary," she told them over secure video chat. "But before I explain, I need your word that what I share stays between us, no matter how incredible it seems." After receiving their promises, Elena took a deep breath and revealed everything: the crash, the aliens, their technology, and the impending government investigation. Silence followed her revelation. Finally, Aisha spoke. "Elena, if this is true, it's the most important scientific discovery in human history." "If?" James raised an eyebrow. "You think Elena would make this up?" "I need you to see for yourselves," Elena said firmly. "Tonight, before the government gets involved." Hours later, the three scientists trekked through the darkened forest. When they reached the clearing, Elena stepped forward alone. "It's me," she called out. "I've brought trusted colleagues. The help we discussed." The air shimmered as the cloaking field partially deactivated, revealing the entrance to the ship. Captain Vex stood at the threshold, her crystalline form imposing in the moonlight. James and Aisha stared in stunned silence, their academic skepticism evaporating in the face of undeniable evidence. "Dr. Kasparov," Vex greeted Elena formally. "You've brought others despite our agreement." "Circumstances have changed," Elena explained quickly. "The government has detected your presence. They're coming tomorrow. We need to accelerate repairs, and I need help." Vex regarded the newcomers with all four eyes. "You understand the risk you take by involving yourselves in this matter." Aisha stepped forward, her scientific composure recovering first. "I'm Dr. Aisha Rahman, Materials Science. If you need repairs, I can help more effectively than Elena." "Dr. James Lee," James introduced himself, still visibly processing the alien's appearance. "I specialize in neurological research." At this, Lorix floated forward, his tendrils extending with interest. "A neurologist. Your timing is fortuitous. We've made a discovery about human neural structure that requires further investigation." Inside the ship, the scientists were briefed on the situation. Aisha immediately began working with Zilara on the material requirements for repairing the quantum fold drive, while James was escorted to the research chamber by Lorix. "Remarkable," James breathed as he examined the comparative brain scans. "You're suggesting this neural connectivity is unique to humans. Among the 3,842 sentient species cataloged by the Council." "Yes," Lorix confirmed. "The nearest comparable architecture belongs to the Virili of the Andromeda sector, but even they show only 62% of the cross-regional connectivity humans display." James studied the scans with growing excitement. "This aligns with some of our most recent research. We've been studying the relationship between creative thinking and problem-solving abilities. The traditional view that these are separate cognitive functions has been increasingly challenged." "Would you consent to a scan?" Lorix asked, "for comparative analysis with Dr. Kasparov's results." James agreed readily, and soon his neural patterns were displayed alongside Elena's. The similarities confirmed Lorix's hypothesis. The unusual connectivity wasn't individual but species-wide. "If I may," James suggested, "we could expand the sample. I have access to a database of brain scans from various human demographics. Different ages, backgrounds, professions. It would provide a more comprehensive picture." Lorix's tendrils rippled with scientific enthusiasm. "That would be invaluable to our research." In the engineering section, Aisha examined the damaged components of the quantum fold drive with unconcealed wonder. "This technology is centuries beyond ours," she told Zilara. "The way you've integrated biological components with mechanical systems is revolutionary." "Standard Council technology," Zilara replied, her scales shifting to a modest yellow. "But your materials science may help us. We need specialized conductors that can withstand quantum fluctuations." Aisha thought for a moment. "We've been experimenting with graphene-based superconductors at the Institute. They're still experimental, but the properties might be adaptable for your needs." The night passed quickly as the humans and aliens worked together, sharing knowledge and building an unlikely alliance. By dawn, they had developed a plan. Aisha would secure the needed materials under the guise of her ongoing research project. James would provide the neurological data Lorix required, and Elena would meet with the government representatives to misdirect their investigation. "We should be able to complete essential repairs within 5 days," Zilara reported to Captain Vex as the humans prepared to leave. With Dr. Raman's assistance, we can synthesize substitute components for the quantum fold drive. And I've arranged for remote access to our neurological database, James added. Science Officer Lorix can continue his analysis without raising suspicions. Elena looked exhausted but determined. I'll handle Major Chen. The quantum anomaly was just a temporary glitch in our detection systems. That will be my official position. Captain Vex observed the humans with newfound respect. Your assistance exceeds our expectations. We are in your debt. Knowledge for knowledge, Elena reminded her with a tired smile. That was our deal. As the three scientists departed, Vex turned to Lorix. Your assessment of the human neural discovery. If confirmed across a broader sample, Lorix replied, his tendrils contracting in the equivalent of a serious expression, it represents a significant evolutionary advantage. The implications for the Council's species classification system would be substantial. Back at the Institute, Elena prepared for her meeting with Major David Chen of the Defense Department's Special Projects Division. She had rehearsed her explanation, ready to downplay the anomaly as an equipment malfunction. What she wasn't prepared for was the file Chen placed on her desk when they met. Satellite thermal imaging, he explained coolly as Elena stared at the photographs. Though partially obscured, the outline of an unusual craft was visible in the forest clearing. Taken 3 days ago. Whatever's out there has a sophisticated cloaking system, but it can't completely mask its heat signature. Elena maintained her composure with effort. I don't understand. What does this have to do with my research? The anomaly you reported coincided perfectly with this object's appearance, Chen replied. And your frequent trips to those exact coordinates suggest you know more than you're saying, Dr. Kasparov. Elena felt a chill. They had been watching her. This is a matter of national security, Chen continued, his tone hardening. Possibly global security. I need you to tell me exactly what you found in those woods. I'm a physicist, Major Chen, not a secret agent, Elena said, forcing a laugh. I detected an unusual quantum field fluctuation and investigated. I found nothing but disturbed Earth and broken trees, evidence of a meteorite impact, which is what I've been studying. Chen didn't smile. We both know that's not true, Doctor. Whatever is out there, it's not a meteorite. And I've been authorized to take all necessary measures to identify and secure it. The implied threat hung in the air between them. I need time to complete my analysis, Elena said finally. Give me 3 days to prepare a comprehensive report on my findings. 24 hours, Chen countered. After that, my team moves in. I suggest you use that time wisely, Doctor. After Chen left, Elena immediately contacted James and Aisha through their secure channel. They know, she told them urgently. Not everything, but enough. We have 24 hours before they raid the site. The repairs aren't ready, Aisha replied, visibly stressed. The graphene lattice needs at least 48 hours to stabilize. And Lorix is still analyzing the neural data, James added. He believes he's close to understanding how our brain structure evolved this way. Elena made a swift decision. We need to warn them now. Meet me at the usual place in an hour. Bring whatever you can carry that might help them. Meanwhile, aboard the Celestial Harmony, Lorix had made a breakthrough. The holographic displays around him showed thousands of human brain scans, each highlighting the unique neural connectivity pattern he had identified. But now, evolutionary data had been added, brain development from early hominids through modern humans. Captain, he called excitedly as Vex entered the research chamber. I've identified the evolutionary trigger for the human neural architecture. Vex approached, studying the displays with all 4 eyes. Explain. It appears to be linked to their environmental challenges, Lorix began, manipulating the data to show a timeline. Early humans faced rapidly changing conditions, ice ages, predators, resource scarcity. Unlike most evolving species that specialize to fit specific niches, humans developed adaptability itself as their specialty. Interesting, but not unique, Vex noted. Many species evolve generalist traits. Yes, but humans coupled this with something remarkable. Lorix continued. Social cooperation and knowledge transfer. Look at this. He brought forward models showing early human social structures. Their neural changes accelerated when they began living in complex social groups. The ability to both create innovative solutions and analytically assess their value became a powerful survival advantage when combined with their social cooperation. In essence, Vex summarized, they evolved to innovate collectively. Precisely, Lorix confirmed, his tendrils vibrating with excitement. Most species in the Council evolved through specialization, developing specific adaptations to stable environments. Humans evolved to thrive in chaos through collaborative innovation. This explains their technological acceleration, Zilara added, joining the discussion. Their neural architecture predisposes them to technological leaps rather than incremental advancement. Captain Vex was silent for a moment, processing the implications. The Council's developmental models would not account for this pattern. Our entire approach to classifying pre-Council civilizations is based on predictable, staged advancement. Humanity represents an outlier, Lorix agreed. They don't fit our models because their evolutionary path optimized for the very adaptability our models cannot predict. Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert. The perimeter sensors had detected multiple vehicles approaching. Human military transports, still several kilometers away but moving purposefully toward their location. How did they find us? Zilara questioned, her scales darkening with concern. The thermal signature, Vex realized. Their technology is more advanced than we anticipated, enough to detect us through the cloaking field. Captain, the communications officer called. Dr. Kasparov is attempting to contact us on the emergency frequency she was provided. Alina's voice came through clearly, urgency evident in her tone. They know you're there. Major Chen is mobilizing a military unit to secure your ship. You have less than 24 hours. Understood, Vex replied calmly. What is your recommendation, Doctor? We're coming to you now, Alina answered. Asia has materials that might help accelerate the repairs. We need to get you off Earth before they find you. After the communication ended, Captain Vex faced her senior officers. Options. The quantum fold drive is still inoperable, Zilara reported. But we might be able to achieve limited atmospheric flight with the secondary propulsion system, enough to relocate to a more secure position. And risk detection during transit, Mrek pointed out from his pilot's station. Our cloaking field isn't stable during flight operations in our current condition. Lorix's tendrils twisted in a gesture of concern. Captain, there's another consideration. The discovery about human neural evolution. It changes everything we thought we knew about developmental patterns. This information must reach the Council. Vex considered their situation with the careful deliberation that had earned her command. If they attempted to flee and were captured, Earth governments would gain access to advanced technology, potentially destabilizing for a species already progressing at an alarming rate. Yet remaining meant certain discovery. More concerning was the knowledge they had gained. Human neural architecture represented an evolutionary approach the Council had never encountered, one with profound implications for how the galactic community viewed intelligence itself. Prepare for emergency relocation, she decided finally. When our human allies arrive, we will integrate their materials and attempt repairs at the new location. 3 hours later. Galactic paradigm shift. The Galactic Council diplomatic vessel Celestial Emissary descended through Earth's atmosphere with deliberate visibility, its massive form catching the sunlight as billions watched through live streams and broadcasts. Unlike the subtle observation ship that had crashed a week earlier, this vessel was designed to impress, a gleaming, kilometer-long craft that hovered majestically over the United Nations headquarters in New York. Inside the General Assembly Hall, representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered for unprecedented emergency sessions. Alina Kasparov, James Lee, and Aisha Rahman sat in a special section alongside Captain Vex and her senior officers from the Celestial Harmony. The past 48 hours had been a whirlwind of hastily arranged meetings, security arrangements, and crash courses in diplomatic protocol. "I never imagined first contact would happen quite like this," Elena whispered to Vex as they watched the Secretary General nervously adjust his tie for the 5th time. "The Council didn't either," Vex replied, her crystalline form drawing curious glances from nearby diplomats. The standard first contact procedures involved decades of preparation. Overhead screens displayed the celestial emissary hovering above the city. From its underside, a smaller shuttle detached and began its descent toward the specially prepared landing pad on the East River. "Who exactly is coming?" James asked, leaning forward with undisguised curiosity. "High Ambassador Xylos," Lorix explained, his tendrils waving gently with what Elena had come to recognize as excitement. "One of the Council's most senior diplomatic representatives. Their presence indicates how seriously the Council is taking the situation." The Secretary General approached the podium, his voice steady despite the historic gravity of the moment. "Distinguished representatives of Earth's nations, honored guests from beyond our world, we stand at the threshold of a new era in human history. Today, we formally welcome representatives of the Galactic Council to the United Nations of Earth." The chamber doors opened, and a delegation of aliens entered, diverse beings of such varied forms that gasps rippled through the assembled humans. Leading them was a tall, elegant figure whose body seemed composed of interlocking crystalline plates that shifted and flowed like liquid metal. Behind this being came representatives of at least a dozen different species, some vaguely humanoid, others utterly alien in form. Captain Vex stood at attention as the delegation approached. "High Ambassador," she greeted with formal deference, the crystalline being inclined what seemed to be its head. When it spoke, the words formed directly in the minds of all present, a telepathic communication that somehow conveyed precise meaning regardless of language. "Captain Vex, your mission has taken an unexpected turn." "Indeed, Ambassador," Vex replied calmly, "but it has resulted in a discovery of profound importance." The High Ambassador turned toward the podium, addressing the Secretary General and the assembled human representatives. The telepathic voice resonated with ancient authority. "People of Earth, your existence has been known to the Galactic Council for centuries, but today marks your formal introduction to the wider community of sentient civilizations. This meeting occurs earlier than our protocols would normally allow, a consequence of unforeseen circumstances." The ambassador gestured toward Captain Vex and the human scientists. "The accident that brought the celestial harmony to your world has revealed something unexpected about your species, something that challenges the fundamental assumptions upon which our council has operated for millennia." Murmurs spread through the assembly as screens displayed the neural connectivity patterns Lorix had discovered, the unique architecture of the human brain that allowed simultaneous creative and analytical thinking. "For over 12,000 years," the ambassador continued, "the Galactic Council has classified developing civilizations according to predictable developmental patterns. These patterns have proven consistent across thousands of worlds and species, until now." Helena felt a surge of pride as the ambassador continued. "Humanity represents an evolutionary path we have not encountered before, one optimized for adaptability, innovation, and collaborative problem-solving. Your neural architecture enables conceptual leaps that our models cannot predict." The Secretary General cleared his throat. "High Ambassador, what does this mean for Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council?" "It means," the ambassador replied, "that the protocols which have governed our interactions with developing worlds must be reconsidered. The Council's Grand Assembly has convened an emergency session to address this unprecedented situation." As the diplomatic proceedings continued inside the United Nations, the world outside was transforming hour by hour. Global stock markets had initially plunged with the revelation of alien contact, then soared as the implications of advanced technologies became apparent. Religious leaders issued carefully worded statements ranging from embracing the new reality to declaring it an elaborate hoax. Social media platforms crashed repeatedly under the strain of billions, simultaneously discussing humanity's new place in the universe. 3 days later, Elena found herself aboard the celestial emissary, invited along with James and Aisha to present their findings directly to the Council's scientific delegation. The interior of the diplomatic vessel was vast, a miniature city housing representatives of dozens of species, each in environments carefully tailored to their biological needs. The Council has been monitoring Earth for centuries, explained Delegate Marin, a furry, six-limbed being who served as their guide, but always from a distance and always through the lens of our developmental models. Models which failed to predict our technological acceleration. James noted as they passed through a corridor lined with living plants that seemed to respond to their presence. Precisely, Marin acknowledged. Our models are based on the principle that civilizations advance in predictable stages: technological, social, ethical. Deviations are rare and usually catastrophic. But we defied those expectations, Aisha said. Dramatically, Marin agreed. In the past century alone, your species has compressed developmental stages that typically require millennia. From primitive flight to space exploration in a single human lifetime. From basic computing to artificial intelligence in mere decades. The pace is unprecedented. They entered a vast chamber where dozens of alien scientists had gathered. Holographic displays showed Earth's scientific and technological history alongside evolutionary models of the human brain. Lorix was already there, engaged in animated discussion with colleagues from across the galaxy. The neural architecture alone doesn't fully explain the acceleration, argued a scientist whose body seemed composed entirely of tentacles and eyes. Many species show novel evolutionary adaptations without such dramatic developmental compression. It's the combination of factors, Lorix countered, his tendrils waving emphatically. The neural connectivity paired with their social structures and information-sharing systems creates a powerful feedback loop. Ideas build upon ideas at an exponential rate. Elena stepped forward. There's something else you're missing, she said, drawing the attention of the alien scientists. Human diversity. We don't standardize thought patterns or approaches. We cultivate differences in perspective. James nodded in agreement. Most advanced human civilizations don't seek uniformity. They protect diversity of thought, culture, and approach. We've learned that our greatest innovations often come from the collision of different viewpoints. A chaotic approach, commented a being composed of what appeared to be living crystal, similar to Captain Vex, but larger and more complex. Most council species evolved toward standardization for efficiency. Efficient? Yes, Aisha replied. But perhaps at the cost of innovative potential. Homogeneity breeds predictability. Diversity breeds adaptation. As the scientific exchange continued, new understanding began to emerge. The human approach to knowledge and advancement. Messy, diverse, often contradictory, but ultimately powerful, represented an entirely different evolutionary strategy than the Council had encountered before. Meanwhile, in the diplomatic sections of the vessel, another kind of transformation was occurring. Captain Vex stood before the Council's Security Committee, facing difficult questions about her decision to allow human involvement in their rescue. You violated non-interference protocols, stated Committee Chair Dorn, a massive insectoid being whose mandibles clicked with disapproval. These protocols exist for good reason, Captain. I acknowledge the violation, Vex replied calmly. But maintaining strict adherence would have likely resulted in our capture by Earth military forces. The knowledge contained in our ship, including Council technology, would have fallen into the hands of a single Earth government. High Ambassador Xylos, who was observing the proceedings, intervened. The question before us is not whether protocols were violated, but whether our protocols themselves are adequate when dealing with a species like humanity. What do you suggest, Ambassador? Asked another committee member. I suggest we consider that our entire approach to developing civilizations may need revision. Silas replied. For millennia, we have assumed that all intelligent species follow similar developmental paths. Humanity demonstrates that this assumption is flawed. Back on Earth, similar reassessments were taking place. In Washington, D.C., Major David Chen sat in a Pentagon briefing room, presenting his analysis to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the President. Based on the information shared by the Galactic Council representatives, he explained, indicating charts displayed on the room's screens, humanity is classified as a Level 3 civilization on their 9-level scale. Most Council member species are Level 6 or higher. And yet they seem concerned about us, noted the President. Why? Because we're advancing too quickly by their standards, Chen replied. Their models projected that humanity would reach our current technological level no sooner than the 24th century. We're approximately 200 years ahead of schedule. Is that a problem? Asked the Secretary of Defense. Chen hesitated before answering. The Council has encountered other rapidly advancing species before. In most cases, technological development outpaced ethical and social development, leading to self-destruction or devastating interplanetary conflicts. But we haven't destroyed ourselves, the President pointed out. Not yet, Chen acknowledged, which is why they find us so fascinating. According to their data, species with our rate of advancement typically self-destruct before achieving global cooperation or sustainable technology. Somehow, we've managed to develop nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering without triggering extinction-level events. So far, the implications hung heavy in the air. Humanity was not just another emerging species in the galaxy. They were an anomaly, advancing too rapidly, thinking too differently, defying the developmental patterns that had held true for thousands of other civilizations. 1 week after the arrival of the celestial emissary, the High Ambassador requested a private meeting with Elena, James, and Aisha. They were escorted to a chamber designed to mimic Earth environments, complete with familiar furniture, ambient temperature, and even the scent of fresh coffee. I've asked to speak with you informally, the ambassador began, the telepathic voice somehow warmer than in public addresses, because you three represent the bridge between our civilizations, the first humans to work directly with Council representatives. Elena nodded, still somewhat awed by the crystalline being before them. We're honored, Ambassador. The Grand Council has reached a preliminary decision regarding Earth, the ambassador continued, one without precedent in our history. I wanted you to understand it before the formal announcement. The three scientists exchanged glances, sensing the weight of the moment. Typically, contact with Level 3 civilizations is limited to observation only. Level 4 civilizations receive restricted diplomatic relations. Full membership in the Council is reserved for Level 6 and above. And Earth? James asked. Earth will be offered conditional Level 5 diplomatic status immediately, with an accelerated path to partial Council membership. The announcement stunned them. That's not following your protocols at all, Aisha observed. No, it is not, the ambassador agreed. But the discovery of humanity's unique neural architecture and developmental pattern has forced us to reconsider our entire approach. Your species represents something the Council has never encountered, a civilization that advances through controlled chaos rather than orderly progression. Controlled chaos, Elena repeated with a small smile. That's an apt description of human history. The Council believes, the ambassador continued, that humanity may offer new perspectives valuable to the galactic community. Your different approach to problem solving, your emphasis on diversity of thought, your ability to make intuitive leaps while maintaining analytical rigor, these qualities are rare and potentially transformative. There will be resistance to this decision, the ambassador warned. Many Council species fear rapid change. Some will view humanity as a potential disruption to galactic stability. Others will be fascinated by your potential. And you, Ambassador? Elena asked directly. What do you think of humanity? The crystalline being seemed to shimmer slightly, an expression of emotion that Elena couldn't quite interpret. "I think," the ambassador replied after a moment, "that the universe has presented us with a beautiful reminder that evolution follows many paths, and that wisdom can take forms we never anticipated." The next day, Earth's integration into the galactic community began in earnest. The formal announcement of Earth's conditional Level 5 status was broadcast globally and across Council space. Scientific and cultural exchange programs were established, with carefully selected human representatives invited to visit Council worlds, while Council specialists arrived on Earth to share knowledge deemed appropriate for humanity's developmental stage. At the United Nations, the Secretary-General signed the preliminary Galactic Council Cooperation Accord, the first step toward eventual membership in the broader community of civilizations. The document acknowledged humanity's unique developmental path while establishing safeguards to prevent harmful technology transfers or cultural disruptions. 3 months later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the Celestial Emissary, watching Earth grow smaller as the vessel prepared to depart for Council space. She, James, and Aisha had been invited to serve as Earth's first scientific ambassadors to the Galactic Council, a journey that would take them to worlds they had never imagined and introduce them to civilizations beyond human conception. Captain Vex joined her at the viewport, her crystalline form reflecting the starlight. "Having second thoughts, Doctor?" Elena shook her head. "Not second thoughts, just reflecting on how quickly everything has changed. 3 months ago, I was analyzing quantum field fluctuations in my lab. Now I'm traveling to another star system. The Galactic Council moves slowly in most matters," Vex observed. "The speed with which they've embraced humanity is unprecedented." "Because we're unprecedented," Elena replied with a smile. "Our brains don't work like other species. We don't develop like other species. We're the anomaly that forced the Council to reconsider assumptions they've held for millennia." Vex's 4 eyes blinked in agreement. The discovery about human neural architecture has already sparked a renaissance in Council neurological research. Scientists are re-examining evolutionary models across thousands of worlds. "And that's just the beginning," Elena said, gazing out at the stars now visible as they left Earth's atmosphere. "Wait until they see what happens when human creativity and Council knowledge truly begin to intermingle." In a chamber deep within the Celestial Emissary, James and Aisha were already demonstrating that potential. They stood amidst a group of Council scientists, collaboratively designing a new type of neural interface that combined human intuitive design principles with advanced Council technology. "The integration of biological and mechanical systems is more elegant this way," Aisha explained, manipulating the holographic model floating before them. "Less efficient by traditional measures, perhaps, but more adaptable to individual neural variations. Adaptability over standardization," commented a Council neurologist. "The human approach." "Exactly," James agreed. "And when you're dealing with something as complex as consciousness, adaptability matters more than efficiency." The alien scientists exchanged glances, the human perspective challenging assumptions so fundamental they had never thought to question them. As the Celestial Emissary activated its quantum fold drive, preparing to leave the solar system, High Ambassador Xylos composed a private message to the Grand Council. "The integration of humanity into the galactic community represents the most significant change to Council doctrine since our founding millennia ago. Their neural architecture, this unique evolutionary adaptation for simultaneous creative and analytical thinking, offers perspectives our civilizations have not considered. Their developmental pattern defies our models yet has not led to self-destruction. I believe we stand at the threshold of a new era in galactic history. Humanity's controlled chaos approach to advancement, their emphasis on diversity over standardization, their ability to make intuitive leaps while maintaining analytical rigor. These qualities may revitalize civilizations that have grown too predictable, too standardized in their thinking." The human expression, thinking outside the box, has no direct translation in Council languages because most Council species evolved to perfect the box, not to think beyond it. Humanity evolved to constantly reinvent the box itself. The accidental discovery of this capacity may prove to be the most fortunate accident in Council history. On Earth, the changes continued to ripple outward. The knowledge that humanity possessed a unique evolutionary advantage, a different way of thinking that even ancient advanced civilizations found valuable, transformed human self-perception. Nations that had been locked in conflict found new common ground in their shared human cognitive heritage. Scientific collaboration accelerated as researchers gained access to new knowledge about their own neural potential. 6 months after first contact, the first Council-approved technology transfers began, carefully selected innovations deemed appropriate for Earth's developmental stage. Cleaner energy systems, medical advances that could eliminate major diseases, agricultural methods that could end food scarcity. Each innovation was chosen not to make humanity dependent on Council technology, but to help them develop their own solutions more effectively. 1 year after the crash of the Celestial Harmony, a permanent Council embassy was established in Geneva, a stunning structure that seemed to blend architecture from across the galaxy with distinctly human elements. The embassy grounds included a memorial commemorating the moment of first contact, statues of Captain Vex standing alongside Elena, James, and Aisha. The inscription, written in multiple Earth languages and Council script, read, "Here we honor the moment when two evolutionary paths converged, when a spacecraft crashed, but understanding soared, when we discovered that different minds, thinking differently, can together reach heights neither could achieve alone." Far beyond Earth, in the great Council chamber that orbited a distant star, Elena Kasparov stood before representatives of 3,000 civilizations. She had spent the past year studying Council science, history, and culture, learning how the diverse species of the galaxy had built a cooperative civilization spanning thousands of light years. Now it was her turn to speak for humanity. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice steady despite the momentous occasion. "I stand before you as a representative of Earth, a world you once classified as merely developing, now recognized as uniquely evolved. The neural architecture that makes humans different, our capacity for simultaneous creative and analytical thinking, our adaptability, our cognitive diversity, these are not achievements we can claim credit for. They are the result of evolutionary pressures, of countless generations facing challenges that shaped our minds. But what we do with this capacity, that is our choice and our responsibility. The Galactic Council has existed for 12,000 years, maintaining peace and knowledge across countless worlds. Humanity has only just begun its journey among the stars. We have much to learn from you, your wisdom, your technologies, your experience in balancing the needs of diverse species. But perhaps we also have something to offer, a different way of thinking, a willingness to question assumptions, an ability to find unexpected solutions when the established path seems blocked. The accidental discovery that brought our civilizations together has revealed something profound, that intelligence evolves along many paths, that wisdom takes many forms, and that the greatest advances come not when we all think alike, but when different minds think together. Earth is honored to join the galactic community, not as students only, but as partners in the greatest adventure of consciousness, the exploration of what is possible when diverse minds unite in the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. As Elena concluded her address, a moment of silence filled the vast chamber. Then, one by one, the representatives of 3,000 worlds indicated their approval in the ways of their various species, some with sounds, some with lights, some with subtle biochemical signals. The message was clear across all languages and forms. Humanity, with its unique neural architecture and unprecedented developmental pattern, had found its place among the stars. The accidental crash of an alien scout ship had changed not just Earth, but the galaxy itself, revealing that the greatest evolutionary advantage might be the capacity to think differently, together. The human factor had entered the cosmic equation, and nothing would ever be the same again.